on to some other global stories. The European Union will consider fresh sanctions on Russian individuals after more than 3,500 people were arrested across the country for demanding the release of President Putin's biggest critic, Alexei Navalny. EU foreign ministers from 27 countries are meeting in Brussels to discuss these sanctions. One of the EU's top diplomats says that the arrests were of great concern. The group will also discuss its response in the Brussels meeting.
I personally think that a change is in the air in Russia, and this is what makes Mr. Putin so nervous. That's why he detained 3,500 people in the streets. That's why he detained Mr. Navalny. That's why he detained his wife. But I think that the EU needs to send a very clear and decisive message that this is not acceptable. And we have a very, in my opinion, effective mechanism, EU global rights sanctions regime, and I think it needs to be used decisively in order to send a message that human rights abuses, wherever they happen, in Minsk, in Moscow, in Hong Kong, they will not be tolerated.
However, given the current situation, the EU diplomats do not expect to agree on sanctions on Monday, despite a push from some capitals to take a tough line. Brussels is expected to hold off until Navalny goes to court in early February. The EU wants to see if the Kremlin puts Navalny behind bars for an extended term or not. The EU already has economic sanctions on the Russian energy, financial and arms sectors. The EU has imposed sanctions on Russian officials close to Vladimir Putin in response to Navalny's poisoning in August. But the Russian president doesn't seem to be influenced with the growing protests in Russia. Vladimir Putin has called weekend protests as illegal and dangerous. Fielding questions from students, he said that nobody should use illegal actions to further their own political interests.
Вот все события подобного рода, о которых я сейчас говорю, никто не должен прибегать к ним, стараясь защитить свои какие-то амбициозные задачи и цели, особенно в сфере политики. Так политика не делается, во всяком случае ответственная.
Navalny says that Putin was behind his poisoning incident last August, when a version that the Kremlin rejects. The Kremlin says that it has seen no evidence that Navalny was poisoned and that it will not heed calls by some Western countries for sanctions over Navalny's detention, because his case is a domestic matter. The police detained more than 3,000 people and even used force to break up rallies across Russia on Saturday. According to reports, more than 40,000 people gathered in central Moscow to publicly call for Navalny's release, ignoring extreme cold and police warnings. Germany and France, the EU's main powers, will be central in deciding if the bloc goes ahead with these punitive measures on Russia.